Okay, student, good morning. Today we are going to continue our discussion on Chapter 8, bond variation. We have 4 more topics in this chapter. Okay, so our third topic is bond yield. So here I'd like to review our bond variation formula. For me, I don't really remember the detail of formula, but what I remember is the timeline. All right. On the timeline, I can see the coupon payment every period, face value, the lump sum payment on the maturity date, number of period, market rate. Then we can determine the bond price. Right. So in the previous discussion, our focus is bond price or bond value today. So given coupon, face value, number of period, and the market rate, we determine the bond price. Now, our focus is I variable, bond yield. So you can imagine we have a formula including 5 variables. Given any 4 of them, we may know the fix. All right, this is what I remember. Okay, so bond yield. Yield is a terminology in finance. Yield is percentage return. Right, this is an important variable. And I know return to investor. So bond yield is a return to bond investor. All right. So return to investor is the cost to company. All right. So this is the key variable. Now we are going to show you how to calculate the bond yield. And you know what is a bond yield and how to calculate the bond yield. But calculation for me is easy. I mean, I remember the 5 variables in the relation, right? We can use the Excel to do the calculation. So let me give you, let's move to the next slide. So bond yield, so yield is percentage return, all right? In our 101, we discussed yield to maturity. So can you use the yield to maturity or YTM? I like to highlight this word, maturity. That means bond investor buy the bond, then hold the bond until maturity. Right? This is YTM. So you might ask me a question. How about if investor don't hold the bond until maturity? Yes, we have other bond years. But in FINAN101, we just focus on year to maturity. All right. So in our 300 level paper, you will learn other bond years. So here we focus on year to maturity. So what's the year to maturity? Year to maturity of a bond is the discount rate that makes the present value of coupon and the principal payment equal to the price of the bond. So this is our timeline. A 3-year bond. We have coupon, lump sum payment, and the bond price today. Negative means outflow. Right? And now our focus is what is a bond yield? Right? And I know we have a bond variation formula. I enter the input variable. Now we like to know the I. And you can see to find the I is very difficult by hand. I mean, it's very difficult to find the I value. So the best way is to use the Excel or financial calculator. In this class, in our class, we focus on Excel. All right. I will show you how to use the Excel to do the calculation. The idea is the same. So you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 variables. By given any 4 of them, we may know the fibs. All right. But when we do the calculation or Excel, you need to know the PV, present value, is outflow. That means investor buy the bond today, outflow, then receive coupon and the face value on the maturity date. They are inflow. All right. So remember the sign convention. Bond yield with semi-annual coupon, right? So you need to adjust the data according to payment frequency. And the three variables will need adjustment, including coupon payment, bond maturity, and the yield. So again, I will use the example to show you how to do the adjustment and the calculation. So this is our example. So we use the Excel to do the bond yield calculation, right? This is our example. 8% coupon rate paid semi-annually. 30-year bond is selling this amount of money. What is the YTM? So this is the first point. Adjust the data according to payment frequency. Then draw the timeline. Next, use the red formula in Excel. Right? Red formula is here in Excel. Number of period, payment, coupon payment. PV is a bond price today. FV, the lump sum payment on the maturity day. Okay, so let's do the data adjustment. So you can see semi-annually, right? Semi-annually. So you can see the 8% coupon rate, right? 30-year bond. Let's adjust our data. 30-year bond, the number of period will be 60. 30 times 2, right? PNT, coupon payment will be 1,000 times 8% divided by 2, $40. Bond price today, this number, don't forget, negative sign, all right? Next, face value, the lump sum payment, $1,000. Finally, we use the rate formula. This is the rate 3%. But 3% is not our final answer. Our final answer is annual rate or 1 year rate. So we have one more step. 3% times 2, 6%. This is our final answer. All right. I hope you know the process, right? How we adjust the data according to payment frequency, draw the timeline using the rate formula. But don't forget the final step. Our YTM is 1 year rate. So you have to convert your semi-annual rate to 1 year rate. All right. One more a reminder, we have the Excel example available on Moodle. I would suggest students download the Excel and practice the Excel file by yourself. We have several tutorial questions, right? You can use the Excel file to do the calculation. A reminder is draw the timeline first. For me, timeline is very important in finance. And don't forget, adjust the data according to the payment frequency. All right. Okay, we finished the bond year. Again, let's review the key concept for you. So how to calculate bond yield? I know yield is percentage return. Return to investor is a cost to the company. When I do the calculation, I know I need to draw the timeline. And the YTM is a required market rate or return that make the discounted cash flow from the bond equal to the bond's market price. That is our formula here. We have 5 variables in the formula. Now we want to determine the I variable. This is our bond yield. Right. We can use Excel to do the calculation. Right. But there's a reminder here, adjust the data according to payment frequency. Okay, our next topic is interest rate risk. So we know how to calculate the bond value and the bond yield. Now we have an advanced topic, risk of the bond. So here we like to address 2 key risks of the bond, interest rate risk and the default risk. All right. Before we discuss detail, let me show you my handwritten note. Why we have the two risks involved in the bond. All right. So I know bond price depends on cash flow and the market interest rate. Right. Market interest rate is not a constant. It's not a constant. Therefore, we have interest rate risk. So interest rate change, bond price will change. This is the interest rate risk. Another risk is default risk. Cash flow of bond, they are fixed when the bond is issued, but we have credit risk. That means the company might go bankrupt. They are unable to pay their promise coupon and the lump sum payment. This is a credit risk. All right. So we have interest rate risk and the credit risk of the bond. Right. Now we are going to discuss the detail. Interest rate risk. So the prices of bonds fluctuate and change with change in interest rate, giving rise to the interest rate risk. Right? Anyone who owns a bond is subject to interest rate risk because interest rates are always changing in financial market. And there's a number of relations between bond prices and the change in interest rate. Right? I mean, change in interest rate will trigger change in bond price. All right? They have a relation. So let me give you my handwritten note here. Right? So when the bond is issued, coupon rate will be equal to market rate. So when the company issue a bond, their coupon rate is equal to market rate. So bond price is par, that is $1,000 on its insurance date. Right? However, after the insurance date, the market rate will change either up or down. Therefore, we have interest rate risk. All right. So now we are going to show you the relation between bond price and the interest rate. The idea is bond prices are negatively related to interest rate movement. Negative, that means one is up, the other is down, right? And we have two relationships. For a given change in interest rate, the prices of long-term bond will change more than the prices of short-term bond. So first point is about long-term versus short-term. Long-term bond will be more sensitive to the change in the interest rate. Second, for a given change in interest rate, the prices of lower coupon bond change more than the prices of higher coupon bond. So second point is about coupon, lower coupon versus higher coupon. All right. Lower coupon bond change more than the prices of higher coupon bond. I mean, lower coupon bond will be more sensitive to the change in the interest rate. All right. So let me show you how I remember the two results. Right. This is my way to remember the two results in a simple way. So I know bond price depends on cash flow and the I. So present value depends on cash flow and the I. Cash flow are fixed when the bond is issued, but interest rate is not a constant. That means this triangle means change. Change in interest rate will trigger change in bond price. All right. And I know the risk, low risk, high risk. The point is receive the money early, lower risk. Receive the money late, higher risk, higher market interest rate risk. All right. So if you understand this point, then long-term versus short-term, you will know why we have the result. Long-term bond, that means we receive our money late. You will have higher risk. All right. Next, lower coupon bond versus higher coupon bond. Lower coupon bond. So you need to know if you are a bond investor, you have coupon and the lump sum payment on the maturity date, right? Lower coupon, then let's consider a special case, zero coupon, right? No coupon. So all your payment depends on the payment on the maturity date. That means you receive the money late. So you will have higher risk. All right, so this is my way to remember the result. So lower coupon bond, our payment depends on the lump sum payment on the maturity date. Receive money late, higher interest rate risk. Okay, now we are going to show you the detail about long-term versus short-term. We use a graph to show you the long-term bond versus short-term bond. All right. First point you need to know, higher market interest rate, lower bond value, because interest rate is our discount rate in the bond valuation formula. So higher market rate, higher discount rate, lower bond price. So vertical line is our bond price. Horizontal line is market interest rate. So you can see a negative or downward sloping curve. Please note it's not a straight line, it's a curve, or in particular concave curve, right? But we don't need to know the concave, you just know the negative or downward sloping, right? And I like to address a special case. Coupon rate is equal to market rate. So in our example, coupon rate is 10%. If market rate is equal to coupon rate, I remember this example, our bond price will be par $1,000, right? Then I show the data of 30-year bond. So you can see the blue line is our 30-year bond. 1-year bond, the original line, this is our 1-year bond. Next, I discuss the slope. So I need to use your math. I hope you remember the slope when you was a high school student. The slope is change in vertical line, change in bond price divided by change on the variable for the horizontal line is market rate. So this is the slope. So the slope tells me the change in bond price when change in interest rate is 1%. So the slope is a sensitivity to the change in interest rate. And you can see 30-year bond, the curve is steep. The slope is high. That means higher interest rate risk. 1-year bond, the curve is flat. Lower slope, lower interest rate risk. All right. So the graph shows us the long-term bond versus short-term bond, right? Long-term bond, the curve is steep, higher interest rate, higher interest rate risk, right? 1-year bond, the curve is flat, lower interest rate risk, right? So if you think, for example, right now, if you think the interest rate risk is an issue, you can, the market right now is very unstable. So for example, Donald Trump, you can see he wants to control the market rate, market interest rate. If this is an issue, you think the interest rate risk is important or need to be managed, you will not consider long-term bond. You might consider short-term bond. For example, you have investment for 5 years, right? You will not consider a 5-year bond. You might consider 1-year bond. That means buy 5 1-year bond. So first year, 1-year bond. Second year, another 1-year bond. Third year, another 1-year bond. All right. So it depends your risk attitude, right? If you think you don't want to take the interest rate risk, you will consider short-term bond. But short-term bond will give you lower return. I remember the principle, return and risk always go together, right? Okay, we finished the discussion on interest rate risk. So again, we review the key concept for you. So interest rate risk, I remember this bond for variation formula. So I is not a constant. So we have interest rate risk. So what's the interest rate risk? Change in bond prices due to fluctuating interest rate. Right? And I know longer time to maturity, the greater the interest rate risk. The lower coupon rate, the greater the interest rate risk. The reason, receive money late. When you receive money late, you will have a higher risk, right, or higher interest rate risk. For example, long-term bond and the low coupon bond. All right. Okay. Next topic is our is the default risk, right? It's the second risk of the bond. So what's the default risk? So we call that any debt such as bond and bank loan is formal promise by the borrower to make periodic interest payment and pay the principal as specified in the debt contract. So in our bond variation formula, coupon payment and the principal payment is our face value on maturity date, right? Okay, so what's the default risk? Failure on the borrower part to meet any condition of the debt or loan contract constitute default. That means default, that means borrower is unable to keep their promise, right? For example, the company go bankrupt, right? So this is the default risk, right? Next, we define the default risk premium. So when I say the premium means additional return for taking the risk. So we have premium for default risk. This is our formula. So let me explain the formula to you. So DR is default risk. For example, corporate bond. RF stands for risk-free. For example, government bond. Right? So we have bond year, the year of corporate bond, the year of government bond, and the difference between them is default risk premium. That means corporate or company might go bankrupt. Government, theoretically, government will not go bankrupt. The reason is simple. Government can print the money, all right? Although it's not good, but yes, they can, right? So we can see the difference between corporate bond and the government bond. The difference between them is default risk premium. Right? Or you can say the additional return for default risk. So next slide, bond rating. So in the market, we have the bond rating company to provide default risk of bond. So here we give you two bond rating company, Moody and S&P, right? They are bond rating company in the United States. So both the two companies rank bond in order of their expected probability of default and publish this rating as a later grade. So you can find the bond rating information on the newspaper or internet, right, by Moody and S&P. So they are about probability of default or probability of bankruptcy, right? So let me show you the detail of bond rating. All right, so you can see the second column is a Moody's rating. The third column is the S&P rating. So the top AAA, right, AA, single A. then triple B, double B, and to C. And you can see their explanation. So triple A is the best quality, smallest degree of risk, right? To B, to C. C is the lowest quality, right? Poor rating, right? So the default risk premium. So for the triple A, the lowest default risk premium because low risk, low return, right? And the C rating, highest default risk premium, okay? And so you can see the triple A to before the double B, they are investment grade, right? So under triple B, non-investment grade, non-investment, or in simple, they say it's a junk bond, right? Or garbage bond. So under triple B, the rating is too low, right? Non-investment grade. All right. So by the way, the Moody and S&P, they not only provide the bond rating of company, they also have the rating of government. We have government bond, right? So we also have the bond rating of government bond, right? And the United States, you know, I remember I saw a news, the S&P downgrade the U.S. government bond from AAA to AA. So President Trump is very angry with that, right? But New Zealand, you know, our credit rating is very high. Not AAA, but AA. For me, it's very good. They're good enough. All right. Okay. So the rating is very important, you know, because if you have, you can imagine, if you have a lower rating, higher risk premium. Premium is additional return for taking the risk, right? For investor, it's a return to investor. But on the other hand, it's a cost to the company, right? So if your rating is low, company will face higher cost to raise the capital, all right? So next slide, we give you the real-life data. These are data from Australia. All right. So you can see we pick up one single A and triple B, the bond yield. So single A bond yield 3.94, triple B 4.58%. Next, we calculate the default risk spread. That means spread means the difference between corporate bond and the government bond. Right? So you can see AAA, a higher bond credit rating, a lower default risk, then a lower default risk premium. Right? So real-life data support our conclusion. So overall, we still can find the key principle, right? So lower risk, lower return. On the other hand, higher risk, higher return. Right. Okay, well, we finished the discussion on the default rate. So again, let's review our key concept, right? So default risk. So when I think about default risk, first I review our bond variation formula. So default risk is about the payment, right? Coupon payment and the lump sum payment. Although they are fixed when the bond is issued, but the payment will involve default risk. The default risk is failure on making periodic payment or pay the principal on the maturity date, right? And I know the premium, default risk premium. Premium is an additional return for taking risk. So we have default risk premium. Right? So default risk premium is a portion of nominal rate that represent compensation for the possibility of default. Right? So now let's review our bond yield. So I know how to calculate a bond yield, but I know bond yield will involve three components. One, RF, risk-free rate. All right. So risk-free rate is about inflation. So although there is no risk, investor will still require return. This is risk-free rate, RF. Plus premium, additional return for taking risk. For bond, we have interest rate risk. When I think about interest rate risk, I know short-term versus long-term. If I receive the money late, I will have a higher interest rate risk. Second premium is for default risk. Like investor will require additional return for default risk. And when I think about default risk, I know the bond rating, right? Okay, we have one more topic, then we can finish today's lecture, the yield curve. So yield curve, the term structure of interest rate or the yield curve. So the term to maturity of the loan is the length of time until the principal amount is payable. All right, so we know bond, we have short-term bond and long-term bond. So we have time to maturity or term to maturity. So what's the yield curve? Yield curve is a relationship between yield to maturity, YTM, and time to maturity. So relation between YTM and the time to maturity is the term structure of interest rate. All right, so this is the terminology in finance. Term structure of interest rate, that is the relation between YTM and the time to maturity, right? So when I think about time to maturity, we have long term, we have short term. For yield curve to be meaningful, the security used to plot the curve should be similar in all features. That means all else equal. So when we discuss the relation between YTM and the time to maturity, we have to control other variable, right? All else equal. That means other things are constant, right? This is necessary. So when you study any finance theory, you can see this assumption, all else equal. When we discuss the relation between two variables, we need to control other variable, right? Of course, in practice, other variable will change, all right? But in theoretical speaking, we need to control other variable, all right? So next slide. Yield curve, the normal upward sloping. So long-term yield, that means return, long-term rate are higher than short-term rate. All right, this is normal. The reason is simple. When we think about long-term bond, I know if I'm the investor of the long-term bond, I receive the money late. I have higher risk. Therefore, I will require higher return, higher bond yield. So therefore, it's normal. Long-term bond will have a higher bond yield than short-term bond, right? Next, we discuss the inverted or abnormal or downward sloping. So normally the yield curve is upward sloping, right? Long-term rate higher than short-term rate. But downward sloping is non-abnormal, right? So long-term yield are lower than short-term yield. And it's generally regarded as a warning sign for the economy and the market. So yield curve inversion is a recession warning. So normally we have the upward sloping yield curve. The reason investors prefer having money today rather than money in the future. So long-term bond receive money late, higher return, right? But if we observe a downward sloping, you know the recession might occur. So let's use the real life data to show you the result, right? So this is our yield curve. The vertical line is marked red. Horizontal line is yield to maturity. All right. So normally you can see an upward sloping, right? But we pick up two special years, 2008 and 2012. Right. So you can see the detailed number. Right. We have 6 months red, 1 year red, 5 year red, 10 year red. You can see 10 year red, long-term red is lower than short-term red. All right. So when we have financial crisis, we can see the inverted yield curve. Right. For example, 2008 global financial crisis, 2012 European debt crisis. All right. So this is my note. I hope you remember the idea. So the yield curve normally, right? The normal yield curve is upward sloping. So the bond yield time to maturity, they should look like this, right? That means 10-year rate is higher than 1 year rate. This is normal. Abnormal means our yield curve is downward sloping. And when we see the downward sloping yield curve, normally we have financial crisis, right? For example, 2008 and 2012, right? And I just checked the real life data. You can see, or you can Google yourself. Now we also have the inverted or downward sloping yield curve, right? This is the data from United States in 2024. So you can see now our long-term rate is lower than short-term rate. All right. So people might have a concern about recession. All right. Okay. So we finished the discussion on the final topic. Again, let's review the key concept for you. So yield curve is a relation between yield to maturity and the time to maturity. Normally, the yield curve is upward sloping. The reason? Return and the risk. Long-term rate, that means we receive the money late. Therefore, we will require higher return. So this is normal. But when we see the inverted yield curve, that means downward sloping curve, it will be a recession warning. All right. So recession, because it's not normal, right? So downward sloping means investors, they don't want to have money today. They prefer having the money in the future. So maybe the right now it might be a big trouble in the market. All right. So they hope to have their money late. So of course it's not normal, right? Okay. We finished the discussion on chapter 8. One more thing to do. Let me show you the QR code. Hey, student, QR code is ready for you. Online student, I hope you can see the QR code from your end. Okay, thank you for coming. See you next week. Be careful with the raining day. Hopefully next week will be a sunny day.